there, and welcome to another Spectrum pickup video. This one's a little bit different from the last one. This is a bespoke order that I made. It's not a bundle that I picked up, although it is a bundle of games. So all these games I chose myself. I ordered them from a friend of mine called Dennis, who runs a website called theretrocavern. Always got loads of Speccy games on there, Dennis, lots of bargains, so it's always worth checking out www.theretrocavern to see what he's got there, especially if you're after Speccy games in particular, although he does have a selection of games on other formats as well. So yeah, big order I placed with Dennis. This is the first part of the order. He sent it in 2 parcels. And let's just have a look what we got. As usual, what I've gone for, games-wise, is games that I haven't heard of before, that aren't ridiculously priced. I'm not particularly interested in games that cost like 30-40 quid or whatever. I'll leave that to the hardcore collectors. But even so, up to sort of like prices of like £5 to £10, you can still find games which you might not have heard of before, which is, as you know, I always like to see and experience. So there are also a few classics in here and some games which are plugging in gaps in my collection. So let's have a look what we got. Right, first up here we've got a classic, Wanted Monty Mole. I haven't got any Monty Mole games, apart from I think Impossible Mole, so I thought it was about time I got one, and I thought what better place to start with the very first one, by Gremlin Graphics. So Wanted Monty Mole, kind of political game. And here's the first one that I haven't heard of. I remember looking at the site and thinking, that sounds a bit odd, not heard of that. Beyond Software, that were quite popular and well known in the 80s. They did Lords of Midnight, of course, probably their most famous game, but I've not heard of Space Station Zebra. This is obviously before they started using those huge and very crushable boxes, of which I think Cytron was the first game. So there you go, Space Station Zebra by Beyond. Not too sure what this game's about. There's no screenshots. Or there's one screenshot there. Looks a little bit like Cytron actually. So yeah. Bit of a strange one that, so I look forward to giving Space Station Zebra a go. Right, got a couple of double jewels here. Moonwalker by US Gold, which is obviously a Michael Jackson film, so this is like an adaptation of the film in some way. They've been a bit naughty here, US Gold. I know it's quite a common thing to do, but all the screenshots are obviously from 16-bit versions of this game, and you even got a movie screenshot as well there, so yeah, no sign of any Speccy screenshots there. Another double jewel from US Gold, an arcade conversion this time, Solomon's Key. Now, I've heard this is actually pretty good. This it was a Tecmo arcade game, as you can see, so I'm looking forward to giving that a try now. Another arcade conversion by US Gold, Metrocross. Again, I've heard this is pretty good. I've already got it on, I think it was Kicks re-released it, but this original double jewel was pretty cheap on Dennis's website, so I thought I'd give that another go. Surprisingly, I didn't have this. Road Blasters, a very common game. This can be picked up very cheaply, of course, from most places, and Dennis's website is no exception. Road Blasters by US Gold again, and this was obviously another arcade game that was converted very successfully by US Gold, and it's a pretty good game. I remember it reviewing pretty well on the Speccy. There's a screenshot there of the Spectrum version. Basically, its USP was it combined driving with shooting, which was quite popular at the time. Now this is a double jewel I've not heard of. It's called Gunslinger. There's a picture of a very old Gunslinger by the look of it there. It's by Datasoft, although the game was distributed by US Gold again. As you can see, it's quite similar to the other US Gold games in the packaging style. And there's absolutely no screenshots at all on the back of this, so it's all a bit bizarre. This one, never heard of this. Don't remember reading about it in Crash or anything. I think there's some instructions in there somewhere. So I'm quite intrigued to see what Gunslinger's like. It probably means it was rubbish, to be honest, but nevertheless it'd be fun to try. And another unheard of game, we've got Snowstrike. Mission Zone Columbia, Mission Target Drugs. So this is obviously, I wonder if that's the snow of the title that they're referring to, but this is obviously some sort of military game in which you're combating these drug lords in Colombia. Again, by US Gold, although this time it's like a card box, which was very popular in the late 80s, early 90s on the Speccy. So there you go. Nothing to declare. War on drug barons. So yeah, there's an interesting one that I've never heard of. So Snowstrike. A couple of big box games here. First of all, we've got Riddle of the Sphinx by Longman Software, which I believe is some sort of educational package, like a lot of Longman games. Build a pyramid of words and discover the secrets of the Sphinx. That sounds quite interesting. I always like word games. And surprisingly, I didn't have this one in my collection. It's Ikari Warriors by Elite. Now, I'm not quite sure why Elite felt that Ikari Warriors was deserving of a big box. This is very similar to the size of boxes such as Platoon and all the Micropose games like Silent Service and Gunship. This was a very delayed game for the Spectrum. I remember it previews coming out, and it sort of like came out almost apologetically, like a year or two later. And it wasn't a bad game, to be honest. There's a couple of specky screenshots there, and it played all right. I was quite enjoyed playing Ikari Warriors, but never owned this big box version. I think I had the re-release, which Elite did. So it's quite nice to get hold of one of them finally. Right, got some more single cassette games here. None of these I've heard of either. First of all, we've got Star Searcher by, it doesn't actually say who it's by, but this little symbol here gives it away. That's Scorpio, I think, is the publisher behind that. So this is a very old game, this one, I think from 1983. It's for the 48K Spectrum. Looks like it's seen better days, and like all of Scorpio's games, it's not the most professional. It's kind of got the inlay printed a little bit there. Scorpio Games World Limited, that was the name of them. And a friendly alien has engine trouble. So I'm not quite sure what sort of game that is to me. It's quite intriguing to find out, that one. Next up, we have Lothlorian's Mummy Mummy. So I don't know if it's related or similar to Oh Mummy at all. It's probably another sort of maze game, I should imagine. Again, there's no screenshots. So just some instructions there, which I haven't looked at. When I do a separate video, I'll have a look at them and have a look at Mummy Mummy as well, by Lothlorien. The Black Hole, not based on the movie, based on the space event. And it's by Quest Microsoftware, who I've never heard of either. And it's for the 16K Spectrum. So this is a 16K game. I've got a feeling, prizes to be won, I've got a feeling that this might be a little bit like the Imagine Games Schizoids, where you kind of ushered rubbish into a black hole in the middle, which was a bit rubbish. But I'd be intrigued to see what this one's like as well. Again, no screenshots. Didn't get many screenshots back in the early days of the sticky on the inlays. You just had to make do with the instructions and the cover blurb and the cover itself, of course. So there's The Black Hole by Quest Microsoftware, unheard of game and software house. And for the last game, we have a Firebird game, which I'd never heard of, which really, really took me by surprise. I think I knew most of the Firebird games in their silver range. This one's called The Muggins Spaceman, or The Spaceman Muggins. Very odd little cover here of Spaceman Muggins presumably doing a runner from some robot who's giving him a laser blast up the arse. Some nice looking screenshots there. It reminds me a little bit of Astroclone by Steve Turner and Hewson. So I'm quite intrigued by this one. I thought I knew all of the Firebird games. They re-released a lot of games on their silver label, but they had a lot of classics as well, of which the Muggins Spaceman is obviously, may well be a classic, but not a particularly well-known one. And finally, I took the opportunity to pick up a couple of magazines as well, a couple of issues of Your Sinclair that I'm missing. And we've got this one here, which is number 61, it says up here, from January 1991. Just picking these up really for completion's sake. I didn't have a Spectrum by then, so I didn't have much nostalgia, but it's nice to have these old issues to flick through. And a rather gory cover to this issue for the game Dominator. Can't quite see how you get away with that these days. It's basically a spaceship bursting out of some chest or something with lots of rather pink purpley type blood, so that obviously just about avoided the censors. And there's a first look there at the Speccy light gun. So there you go, there's my first of 2 parcels from the Retrocavern. I'll post the second one when it arrives, which hopefully will be tomorrow. Thanks for watching, bye.